Hello. Okay. So what is mean by batch class? First, what you guys understood from the batch class? Anyone? Hmm. Okay. Okay. So batch class is one of the process. Correct. We know about what is mean by async process, right? Executed in separate thread, right? So there is no dependency on it, and then nothing will be dependent on each and every process. It will be an independent process, and it will be executed whenever the resources are available. So when I say resources, the Salesforce resources. Okay. As I shown again earlier also, I'll show you how to check all these things. First, let's understand what is meant by batch. So in a real time, right, we might need to handle many records. Okay. To handle the uh, huge amount of data. Okay. We have only option is called batch class. Why? In the sense, batch class supports up to 50 million records, right? In a normal thing, it will be applicable only the 50K records. In a normal process, in a synchronous process, it will be only the 50K records. So which means 50,000 records, correct? Only 50,000 records can be processed. If we want to handle more than 50,000 records, we have only one option called batch class. Okay, understood, guys? So this batch class will use the interface on called database dot batchable. Correct? This is the interface name. If you search with this interface, you can identify what is mean by that. Okay. So batchable is the interface here. So as we discussed earlier, the Apex will be run on the OOPS concepts, right? In the OOPS concepts, we have interfaces, we have encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, and all these things, right? So in that, one of the thing called interfaces. The Salesforce will provide some of the inbuilt things, so inbuilt interfaces like batchable, schedulable, you know, uh, the emails, everything. Okay, single email messaging and email messaging. Those are the interfaces which will be provided by the our internal SFDC platform. Okay, if you see here, this is a batchable interface, correct? So in this batchable interface, you will have the execute method, finish method, start method. As I said, we have only three methods, right? Start, execute, and finish method. So these inbuilt things will be provided by the interface. When we implement the database.batchable in our class, the platform will understand that that class is a batch class because we are implementing the interface. Correct? So when we want to implement this batchable, we have to have these three methods. So apart from these three methods, you can have any number of methods, but these three are the important methods, are the required methods. Okay. In this start method, we'll fetch all the required data or records. Okay. In the start method, you will get all the records. This is up to 50 million, right? So in this execute method, you will pass the scope. Based on this scope and start method return numbers, it will execute, right? That many times. Okay. Example is, if start method returns the let's say 10,000 records. Okay. Then execute method will run 10,000 divided by scope. Let's assume scope as 200 here. Okay. Equals to how much? 50 times. Correct. 50 times the execute method will execute and process the logic. Also, the business logic will be written in the execute. Why we are putting the business logic in the execute method? Because this execute that many, it will only process the record. The processing of the records will be done in this execute method. Correct? And the last one is the finish method. It also execute only once. Okay, which means after 50 times this execute method is finished, then only the finish method will call and do the rest of the logic. So why we need this finish method? Sometimes you might need to send out an email as you want to do some of the operations once your process is completed. Okay, if everything is done, let's say that if I want to send out a notifications to everyone, once the notifications has been sent successfully for everyone, we have to send out a success notification to my managers saying that hey, the transaction has been completely successful without any errors. So that kind of logic will be done in the finish method. Okay. Yes, please. Exactly. That's a good question. Okay. So the scope is always set based on our organization limitations. Okay. Organization type. Let's say if we are uh, dealing with account. Okay. In every organization, account is a huge thing. It will have a lot of dependency. Okay. Which means if you put the scope as 2000, then the trigger, if you have the triggers flows and all, everything on your account, and you are unnecessarily running a lot of code, right? It will take time. Also, this may leads to the SOCL 101 exception. Okay. because the trigger will support only the scope of 200. Okay. Also, sometimes what happen is if your triggers or flows is not bulkified, then your scope will be very dangerous, right? So it will gives the exception based on our organization. So let's say that in our developer organization, we don't have a lot of triggers. We don't have a lot of dependency, right? And each and everything. Let's say that in my account trigger, if something was happened in my account trigger, if I want to update some of the things on contact and opportunity, that is a dependency, right? If you're trying to do all these things from a scope with a 2000, there might be a chance of getting 101 exception. Also, there might be getting a chance of five uh 50,000 records limit on the 10,000 DML statements, something like that. Okay, any of the errors, so limitations it may hit. Okay, always remember that this execute method will again take into the consideration of our regular things. Okay, it won't be 101, it will be 201. Okay, it will support almost the 200 SOQLs, but still there might be chances of are running into these issues. Okay, when we can put this 2000 is your batch is not doing much things. Let's say simple example. Okay, if I want to close the opportunity, okay, when the status is not changed since 30 days. Okay, this is my requirement. Okay, in this case, what we are getting is we are getting all the records whose last modified by is more than 30 days, right? Then what I can do here is I'll fetch all the opportunities here. In the execute, what I'm going to do here simply I'll get the opportunities, right? List of opportunities is a scope. Okay. In this scope, what I'll do here simply status equals to close, right? If I do a simple thing operations over here, I can put scope as a 2000. Okay. In this case, I'm updating the status only. Okay. If let's assume that in the opportunity, okay, in the opportunity object, if we have 5 triggers, flows, and process builders, okay, with a different business logics. Okay, then even I do this scope of update, when I do the any operation, insert or update or anything, the triggers, flows, process builder, everything will be triggered. Correct? So in this case, if my trigger, all my 5 triggers will execute, flows will execute, process builder will execute. In any one of these places is doing one more operation called update account. So this update account will also get triggered. So in account object, whatever I have, my triggers and flows, those things will get also executed. Again, in the account trigger, if I have update or delete, sorry, insert contact, logic is there. Then contact triggers will also get executed, right? If you see here, when you are updating only opportunity, there is a series of actions are doing. Opportunity object is updating, the triggers, flows, process builders related to the opportunity will execute it. If these triggers or anything is updating some other object, like an account, this account triggers will get executed again. And this trigger again doing some of the operations on a other object, that related object triggers will also get fired. So if you see, these are the sequence of steps. If we need to do this much of things, if you pass the 2000, if any one of these triggers is not bulkified, okay, if any one of these triggers are not bulkified, then what happen? You will get the limit exceptions. Any limit exception. Let's assume the contact trigger. Okay, if you have the contact trigger over here, in this contact trigger, if you are doing something like this for your business, you have to do that. Okay, so you have written something like this, um contact con trigger.new, right? So here what you are doing is con equals to select id from, sorry, account where id is equals to con dot account id. Okay, in this case, if you put the 2000, this for loop will execute how many times? 2000 times, but actual limit is only the 200, right? You have to think about the entire transaction. The transaction is when it is updating from this to how many sockets it has been consumed from here to here. So it will count in everywhere. This one in the opportunity triggers here, and the account trigger here, and the contact trigger here, and this sockets, right? So it will be aggregation of everything. In that case, it may hit your limits. In this case, what you do, you won't put the limit as a 2000. You'll put the limit as only some one or two sometimes. Okay, in this scenario, you always prefer to put only the scope as one. If your number of records is more than 50 million, you can put the 2000. That's the best practice, and avoid all the trigger execution, and your logic is only dependent logic, I mean independent logic. Okay, there are different use business use things. So we have to go based on our current requirement is. Okay, understood, guys? Or still a confusion? In a simple words, right? In a simple words, based, yeah. So simply, the scope is the something we have to decide, right? When we will decide it, if we know that how many records will be returned, what is our execution method will does, and whatever is happening in the execute method, will it be impacted if I put the scope, large scope, correct? As a developers, we can understand that because we know the arc, what are the things which are developed in our arc, correct? So based on the limits, so we have to always keep one thing called the limits in our mind. We have to really think, okay, if I put the 2000 here, will my code will be affected with the limits? Okay, if you think that, don't put the 2000. If you think it won't affect anywhere, then you can put the 2000. That's not a big deal. Okay, so based on your code, what your execute method is doing. So here, as I said, right, I'm just updating the status to closed. If the status is in progress and opportunity status was not touched since the 30 days, I want to close this because no one is our no one is looking into this opportunity, which means that I have to close this. Okay, so that is my batch thing. So because it has to be run on every day, in every day it has to check in my system, it has to get all the opportunities if the status is not closed and the not touched since the 30 days, correct? If I get that, that may be only one record will get it done, or it may be 100 records, or it may be 2000 records, or it may be 1 million records, right? In a real use case, because the batch will be run on an everyday basis, you won't get more than 1000 records or 2000 records. Okay, because we are running on every day, and then every day it will be closing, right? In that case, you can put the scope as only 200, because your opportunity will have a lot of dependency. In that case, you should not disturb the existing logics. Okay. Or if you think you have a large amount of things here, let's say you are sending emails, and you are doing some of the operations and some other objects related things, then you have to put the scope as only one. If you see that there is a lot of dependency like this, okay, if you see a lot of dependency like this, and your triggers are not bulkified, then you have to put the scope as one. When you developed, and then when you are testing in your lower environments, when you run your job, you might understand that, you will get an immediate things, because your organization will contains the dependencies, right? When you run your bad job in your developer org, in your developer environment, it will give you the list of limits it has been occurred. Then that only you have to put the scopes in a higher environment. So that's why we have dev box, the QA box, and these the full copies of sandboxes, right? We test it out in our lower environments first, and then we can understand that whether I have to put the scope as 1 or 10 or 100 or 200 as a 2000. Okay, based on that you can set the limit, but the default scope is only the 200. Okay, if you mention or not, it will take only the 200 as a default scope. Yes. There is no limit on this execute method. So 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 that is what I'm saying, right? Execute method doesn't have any limits. Whatever the start method will return, number of records divided by scope. As you mentioned, 50 million records divided by 2, which means 25 million times. Okay. But in real time, what happens with this scenario is it will occupy all the time in the system, right? So it won't allow the other batches or other process to be executed because this is an asynchronous process, right? So there is no other asynchronous processes will be allowed. It will take this space, and then it will execute an all the time, right? Because it's a 25 million. So 25 million is not a small number, right? So how much time it will take to execute, we don't know. So always we have to take into consideration, we should not take long time to run, because the other batches will also be exist. In our organization, it's not only one batch, right? It will have hundreds of batches, hundreds of asynchronous processes. So we should not consume a lot of time based on our batch sizes. So if we know that in real time, right? So it won't be the 50 million. Okay, as my experience as of now, I don't see the 50 million records in any organization. Okay, so if you have the 50 million, then you can put the scope as 2000 as a max. Okay, and still if you don't want to go in this batch class, there is other things called, the data loader and the workbench and some other things, right? You can do, you can process from there also if it is only one time. Okay. Yeah. Any other any other things? Now you guys understand what is meant by batch? What the batch class I have written last time? Notifications, right? Employee notifications, right? So this is a batch class we have written in the last class, right? As I mentioned, for every batch class, we have to implement the one thing called the batchable. If this is the batchable is a interface. If you implement this batchable in your class, you should have the start, execute, and the finish methods. If you are implementing it or not, that doesn't matter. You should have all these three methods. Okay. So in your start method, as I said, you can get all the records, the required records here. Once you get all the required records here, your execute method will have the business process here, right? You will write down your business logic here and execute your logic. Once you are done with your execution, if you need to do something in your finish method, you can do, or else you can just ignore on this finish method. Okay. So the ask what I asked was, whenever there is a number of years, right? We have to calculate the number of years, and we have to send a notifications to the employee based on the anniversaries, right? Am I correct? Yes, yes. Okay. So this one, one day before we are sending out an email here, right? Or else on the same day we are sending the email here. So now what I asked was, in the same fashion, you want to build a batch class where it has to get all the employees. Requirement is this, okay? Send the notifications employees whenever they complete the anniversary. Okay. Example: 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and etc. Okay. Every year. So I would say, example, every year completion. Okay. Completion with number of years. Correct. So employee ABC is joined on Feb 1st, 2022. Okay. So now how you can calculate number, how many years he has been completed is the question here, right? How to calculate number of years, right? Is the first question. So here you guys have to think about the different ways. You will calculate this formula in your batch job, or you will write down a formula field into your object and calculate your number of years with that today's date. Correct? Understood, guys? So now the today's date is what? So today's date is 13. So February 13, 2023. So by this time, employee completed the 1 year, right? Because when the 1 year was completed for him, Feb 1st, 2023 completed the 1 year, right? So when our batch was running on the February 1st, he should receive the, okay, let's take a simple example. If he joined on the February 13th, so when he will complete the 1 year, he will be complete the 1 year on February 13th, 2023. Okay, because today he will complete the 1 year. So now you have to send a notification to ABC saying that you have been completed 1 year in our organization. Okay, with your some content of notification. So however you want, you can put the notification messages, right? You can put the notification message. So now the thing is how to calculate the number of years is the matters. This you can try it out in your formula fields or in your batch class itself. Understood? One more example. Employee XYZ joined on February 13, 2020. Okay. So what is the date today? It's a 13, right? February 13, 2023 now. So by this time, how many years he has been completed? How many years? So it's been 3 years, right? 3 years completed. So now you have to send a notification to the XYZ saying that you have completed 3 years in this organization. Correct? So it has to be done automatically on an everyday basis. So when I say every day, it has to check our employee records and then process the data. You have only one option called batch class. Correct? The batch class will only fetch the records and then process it and execute the methods with the required business logic. Correct? So here you have to first thing is how do you calculate the number of years is the matters. Correct? So I'm giving the hint also. In the last class which I sent you, here we are checking the day and month already, right? The February 13th is matched here. So now what you have to check on the joining date? Year, right? So joining date year. So that today's year minus the joining date year will gives you the number of years completed. As simple as that, right? Understood, guys? Int is check the batch class, okay, and follow. Here, use the same day and month and calculate only the year based on today's year minus joining date year. If you do that now here, a simple thing is today is 2023 minus the joining date is what? 2020, which will gives 3. Am I correct? In the same fashion, in this one also, 2023 minus 2022 will gives you 1, which means we are already checking the day and the month. So February 13th and the year only the pending. So if you check in this fashion in your batch class itself, you'll get number of years completed. Am I correct? So the rest of the thing is same. The rest of the thing is same. The notification message is also same, and only the thing is you have to change your notification template ID. Correct? This template ID you have to change here. Okay. And one more part is, if you wanna take any number of templates, you can take it up. If you want to send a separate email content for 1 year, separate email content for 2 years, separate email content for 3 years, you can send it out. Okay. If you want to make it as a unique template for every year, you can use only one template. Okay. And append the number of years in your content. So that is okay. So at this time, that's a long process. So for now, you can create that many templates over here. Okay. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 3, 4, 5 years up to. Okay. 5 years completed templates you can create, and based on the number of years over here, if it is a 1, use your template name called template ID notification 1 year, right? If it is a 2 years, use the 2 year notification. If it is 3 year notification. If it is 4 year notification, right? So you have to create 5 email templates and get all your 5 email templates over here, and based on your number of completed years, use the template ID. Okay. Understood, guys? So see, if we have any problems on a problem or a requirement, so that we can call as a problem statement, right? Sorry. Okay. Yeah, yeah. See, you guys understood the requirement. What is the requirement? Yes. Yes, that's correct. So for that one, what you do? Yes. How do you calculate the number of years? who's been working. Yes. So now you understood up to here, right? So here now you know the number of years: 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right? What I'm trying to say here is send email to employee with email template 1 year completion. Okay. So you have to create 5 email templates each year. Okay. Understood? In the back end, you have to create you have to create 5 email templates for 5 years. Okay. In the each year content, you will mention the number of years has been completed, right? So if you create the email content over here, let's say here, available for use, 1 year completion, right? Notification, I'm saying here, subject is regarding 1 year for completion. Okay. If I do something like this, I'm hard coding here, right? The subject, dear employee. So here this employee is my employee fields, last name or first name, whatever it is, employer last name. I can use my merge field over here, comma. I'm giving the break over here. You have been completed. Yeah. So if you create only one email template over here, how do you put the number of years you work? Let's say you have completed 1 year. How do you automatically change your one to two or three or four or five? How do you change it automatically? If you want to change this automatically, you have one option. Okay, that is called, yes, yes. So then you no need to use your HTML. Okay, then in that case you no need to use your email templates itself. Okay, what you are trying to say here is you are creating a body in the HTML itself, right? Creating a body, email body, in the code itself, right? You can do this way, but the problem with this one is if I want to change my content at any point of time, what you have to do? You have to change your class, correct? Am I correct? So always we have to try to configure the things. So that is what the from the day one I'm saying, right? So if you there is one more option. See, I'm telling you guys an examples. Okay, you have to explore on all these things. One type you have explained this one, the creating a email content within the code itself. Okay, that is called the content, right? So here instead of template ID, what you can simply set is come on, mail dot set HTML body, right? So here I can put my HTML body over here. I can create my HTML body here as a string. So what I can do here is my dear. So if I want to use my first name and last name, emp dot last name, right? I have to use something like this, correct? And I want to use this new line. That's a break. New line is the break in your HTML tags. Because it's a string, you can't use that, right? Or else you can use this br. Also, you can use your content over here equals to you have completed the you have completed. So here you want to use the number of years here, right? Number of years field over here in our arc. Thanks for your contribution. Okay. So if I want to write it down, I can write it down in this way also. Okay. So here you are using employee name as from the employee record, the number of years based on your the formula you can use in this fashion also. This is one way. So this way is what? If I want to send a content for each and every year is a different, this won't work out. Correct? If I want to send a notification for every year is the same, this will be work out. Okay. You can there is one more thing called yes. No. For that one, what you have to do is I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. Use something like this here. Okay. Some special keyword. Okay. Use the special keyword over here. If I use my special keyword here, what I can do here is here my email template called the body. Okay. What I can do here is simply email template dot body dot substring or replace, right? Of the replace methods. Replace of year with your number of years. This number of years is your the formula field, right? Here. In this case, you will check the number of years here. Integer number of years equals to so today dot year minus employee dot joining date, right? Joining date dot year. It will give you the number of years, right? See, if you guys you will use these things, you can use this. Okay, I'm trying to give you these options. So why I said this initially 5 email templates is to make your coding as an easy thing. Okay, since I'm explaining you this one, you may think that this is easy, right? Until unless if you don't explore all these options, how come you know that there are this much options? Okay. Okay, so simply create only one email template. Okay, with a special word, special wording for year. Okay, and replace this here value from batch class based on the number of years value. Understood? Now, if you feel this one is a simple one, you have three options here. One option, if the client say, if the business says that I want to have each and every year, I want to change my content. That is a one use case. Okay. In each year, I have a different content. Then what you need to do? You have to create 5 email templates. Am I correct? If the content is not same for every year, you have to create that many email templates. That is a use case one. Use case number 2 is, if the content is same across all years, then you can create only one email template and use a special wordings in your email templates and get the body and replace that with your appropriate values in it. That's a option number 2. Okay, or create the email content in the batch class itself. If you create the, so this is not recommendable. Okay, because at any point of time, if we want to change the content, we should not go on change in our batch class. It should be configurable. Okay, three options. You guys understood the three options? Yeah. So implement it now. So I gave all these details now, right? Now you guys understood what exactly you need to write down a batch things, right? Write down the batch class and let me know if you have any other questions on the batch class. Okay. So the other thing is called the schedulable. Okay. We created the batch class. So we have to schedule this batch class at some particular timings, right? How do you schedule the batch class? Is the question now. Okay. For schedule, we have interface called schedulable.
So can you please repeat question once again?
Okay. How do you schedule your batch class in the system? Means I'm sending a notification on a work anniversary or the birthdays in my batch class. I have written the logic in my batch class. Correct? Now the batch class has to be scheduled. It has to be run on every day at uh, 1 a.m. in the early mornings. Okay? Every day 1 a.m. in the early mornings, I have to run this batch. So, how do you schedule this batch? If I want to make this class has to be run on an everyday basis, I want to schedule it, right? Or if I want to run a something called the salary accounts, has to be the batch has to be run on a every month end, correct? How I can get it done? The batch. I have to schedule it for some time interval. So that is called the schedulable. So in the Salesforce, we have something called schedulable interface. Okay, it also works in the same fashion how we use the batchable, but the schedulable will doesn't, I mean, have only one method is called execute, nothing else. In this one, what you can do is, however, we executed our batch class in our anonymous window. In the same fashion, we can use the database dot execute batch, right? In our anonymous window, in the same fashion, we can execute in our schedulable. But the thing is, if you use this class, in this class you can schedule in a 3 ways. Okay, one is using standard Salesforce schedule. Second time is using con expressions. Okay, we'll see these two things. So to see these two things, first we have to write down one batch class over here. So write class get apex class. Employee schedule in classes. Code snippet is not working. Okay, so what I can do is implements database dot schedulable. In this one, it will have the execute method. Okay, here are you schedule. So this is a class, right? So use public class employee schedule implement the schedulable interface. If I use the schedulable interface, it will have only the execute method. In this execute method, it will have a this is a schedulable context. We need to worry about here. So here I want to schedule this batch class, employee notification batch. So now what I can do is here is I can just initialize the batch class here, and also database dot executable batch of batch comma scope. I'm putting a scope as only one here. Okay, if I save here, let me save here. You guys understood here, right? Whichever is batch classes I want to run in this schedulable, I can call that method and I can do the execute of batch. Okay, once I'm done, deploy this to source org. Okay, method as declared global. Okay, okay, now your class has been created in our org. Let's go to here. if you go to your Salesforce standard thing, you will have schedule Apex button over here. Correct? Just click on the schedule Apex button. The job name is, you can put any of the job name. Employee birthday notification. Okay. Okay. Notify. So now if you look up this Apex class, this will gives you the only the classes which are extended the schedulable interface. Okay. If you see here, you have only this schedulable interface. So now our thing is employee schedule batch class was visible over here. No other classes will be visible over here except the classes which are implemented the schedulable interface. So that's how the system will identifies that. Okay. Now you will check the schedulable over here. So now the frequency of the schedule Apex will run. When it has to be run, weekly or monthly. When I say weekly, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So when I have to run, I have to run every day. Sunday to Saturday, I have to execute on every day, and the start date is today, and the end date is, I'll put some long end date. Correct? Because it has to be run that much time. Okay. And the preferred time here, when this batch class has to be run, as I said, I want to run on a everyday 12 a.m. or if I say 1 a.m. As soon as it's a 1 a.m. in the midnight and early morning, this will pick this schedulable class, and then it will try to execute the logic within this execute method. In this execute method, what the logic is there? You are executing the batch class. What is this batch class? Notification of the employees. Correct? So now you are scheduling your Apex here. If you save here, you have been schedule your schedulable. How can you check the schedulable things which are running in the system? If you type the job, you can have the scheduled jobs here. Okay. Click on the scheduled jobs. See here, I have scheduled this one, submitted by this person and submitted on this time, and started is nothing, and the next schedule run is what? So 14 to 2023 1 a.m. this job will automatically runs automatically without any manual intervention. Okay. This will pick this class will executed. This class will having a logic of this batch class. This batch class, whatever the logic behind the batch class, it will get executed. Understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
So this is the easiest way for scheduling the any of the batches. Okay. There is one more thing called a cron expression, as I said, right? So this is called the cron expression. Okay. So this cron expression, what it does is, so let me explain you this cron expression. So this is a cron expression. So string, I'm putting it here. This is a seconds, minutes, hours, day, month, year. So the question mark is at every year. I don't know the year. It has been a run on every day, and month is 2, and second, and 10th is my date, and hours, minutes, seconds. Correct? If I want to particularly run my job class on particular day, not only particular day, only some so every month second only I have to run. Okay, then I can use my cron expression. Okay, or else for every 5 minutes I have to run my job. Then 0 seconds, 5 minutes. So star means every time, every day, every month, every year. If I put something like this, so what happens? My schedulable class will run on every 5 minutes once. So if you want to run your batch, your batch class should, I mean, your schedulable class should run on every 5 minutes or 5 seconds. You don't have that such option in your just in the schedulable class, correct? In your schedulable class, you have only the limitations. It's called you can schedule your things on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and your particular time only. If you want to run on every half an hour or every 30 minutes, you don't have such options here, correct? If you want to go in that level, you have to use your cron expressions. Once you have your cron expression, this is my batch class, and my batch class name, I can put my batch class name is employee birthday notification, and my this one. Okay, if you see here, this batch will be scheduled on this every 5 minutes, and then it will run. Okay, so how I can, where I can execute this? So this you can execute only in your anonymous window. It will be only one time. Okay, so if you see here, in the anonymous window, I can execute this and execute. Have executed. Suppose week batch, day of week and day of month parameter is not implemented. Day of week, I think every day, every month, every year. Trigger must be associated with the job detail. Why it's saying this one? Don't have the trigger. Why trigger is asking here? Trigger must be associated with the job detail. Jobs. Here I want to go and delete this one. So these are the cron expression things. So seconds, minutes, hours, day of month, day of week, optional, special characters are all these things. Every day 1 p.m. every month. This one. Hey, come on, why it's not working out? Method to schedule a batch. One time the special time in the future. This method system dot schedulable. So it should be work. I don't know why the trigger is happening over here. Async expression trigger must be associated with the job detail. Okay, that's my bad. So now I have a space over here, so that's the reason it's not working out. If you see here now the jobs and scheduled jobs, see now employee birthday notification is my job name, and it is running on every day 8:30, right? So I just put it on the 10 to 2024. In the next year, I just put it the 8 8:30 a.m. and a special date, right? So it will run on every year on this date. So if I want to run on an everyday basis, so as I mentioned, we have to use these cron expressions. So here, if I use this every hour, so 13 is my hours, days, and month. So if I want to run this on my everyday basis, it's 1 a.m. So every hour, 5 minutes. Because it's already scheduled, I can delete this one again. Schedule now. Refresh. So now if you see here, right, it will run on every 5 minutes. Okay, it will be run on that 12:05, and the next one will be once the 12:05 is done, and after 12:10 it will be run. Okay, for every 5 minutes it will run. Okay, so that's how we can use our cron expressions, which is available in our schedulable interface. So this is seconds, minutes, hours, day, month, year. Okay, so based on your logic, how many hours you wanna, so how many days you want, everything you can see in your class. This one. Okay, so this is your expressions over here. Understood, guys?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
So I have a question.
yeah.
Sir, if we schedule the criteria of the like we schedule something, so how we know it's working or not?
Okay, that's a good one. Once you have scheduled your thing, as I said, you have something called the monitors, right? If you type the jobs here, it will be schedulable. Okay, how it is working and all. So this is a class. This is a schedulable class, correct? This schedulable class, you know that this is from the this batch, the schedule class. In this schedule class, what is the job? The notification job that you can see it over here. Okay, and the 12.5, the schedule class will take the batch class and run on this one. If you see here, it's on queued now, right?
Okay, sir.
So it's unqueued, and then once, so this is my class. So if you go to this class, this is our class, right? So this is the same class I'm talking about. In this class, this is our batch class. So here you can check whether it is success or failure. You can see in this one. Okay. Also, if you want to check that in your Apex class itself, you will have something called the cron trigger. Okay. So from the cron trigger, you can query the batch ID. Okay. See here, this one. So here, the cron details is a socle where you can put down your job ID that will gives you the whether it is success or failure. Okay. So if you don't want, I mean, if you want to go as a programmatically, use this socle. If not, if you want to monitor from here, you can monitor from the jobs, the scheduled jobs and the Apex jobs. In the Apex jobs will give you the full details over here. What are the jobs which are running in the system and when it was run, and then how many total jobs were running, and then how many was passed, and then how many was the failure. Okay, you can check all these details in this section. Okay,
Okay, sir.
yeah, that's where as an administrator, the very important thing is we guys have to be monitor our jobs. So how do you monitor our jobs? As I said, we have the two things here, the scheduled jobs and Apex jobs. Every scheduled job is related to the if the scheduled job is related to the Apex, then that will be posted in the Apex. Okay, you can check that into the Apex. This background jobs and bulk data loader jobs, it's a different things which we it will be used in your data loaders and your workbenches. Okay, understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
So now we have schedule on a everyday base. I mean every day at 12:05. Once the 12:05 has been done, it will be run, and then the schedule will become the 12:10. Right? Understood? So are we good for the batch and the schedule now? Okay, that's cool then. So just practice this one. Okay, complete your task. Okay, and schedule this every day at 1 a.m. using your cron expression. Okay, don't use the cron expression at this time. Use your normal standard thing, because you know the from the standard things also you can achieve that, because it's on a everyday basis. Correct? Everyday basis and every day every at 1 a.m. Okay. Yeah. Are we good for the class, or you guys have any other questions? Sorry. Yes, yes. So you are getting this account, searching the fields. So if you have all fields, and if you want a specific, let's say account ID. So what you are trying to ask here is you want to do the inner circle or what? I don't understand. Okay, okay. Using this plugin or what? Using this plugin or in general? This extension, I don't think so. It will be possible. Okay. This inner circles are not applicable here. Okay. So if you wanna see, this is the thing. So if you wanna run your inner circle, you have to run your one, or else you can write it down in any of your notepad here, and you can execute it. So how you can execute is select ID name contacts, right? Account limited. Just execute the circle in a query builder. You have one more thing called the execute here, right? Because currently the selected one using the REST API or the tool API. I'll use the REST API. See here, okay? Like you'll get all the data, ID, comma name, and the contacts IDs. Okay. If I have the contact IDs, I'll get it. So if not, I won't get it.